Welcome to Gray Eminence Media. Let's get into it.
Name one.
The University of Texas.
Okay, so
We didn't think you'd actually have an example.
I have a list.
they agree on the color of the sky.
Right.
Well, the first,
but you haven't answered my question.
but I think you just made that up. If you didn't, please tell us what church it is, because that's not Catholic teaching.
Sure.
That'd be
One of the
closed
pairs I
down.
went to was
Did you say you're not supposed to wear rosaries?
as a
Have you
As a
never? Have you
Catholic?
never been to Italy?
no, but I was a Catholic
No, you
for
haven't.
like
Okay.
16 years, and wearing a rosary was
very
a
good.
big no-no. We got in big trouble in school when we did that. But
The answer to your question is race.
the funniest thing is I actually just made that up. I was seeing if he would actually try to talk his way through that, but I totally made that up. Thanks, Milo. We're not getting rid of cell phones. We're not putting women back in the kitchen. We're not getting rid of birth control. The internet's not going anywhere. We're not locking down our borders. We live in a world today that is as much different from 1980 as 1980 was from the 1200s that, Milo's so obsessed with. We need better conversations with people, better policies that we can advocate for, better things that we can talk about to move our people forward, rather than having people endlessly fracture and atomize themselves.
The question we're going to be answering today is, should Christian nationalism be the dominant governing ideology of America? We will have 10 minutes each of prepared opening statements, and then each of you guys will be able to go through 5 minutes of rebuttals each, and then I will ask 2 questions for each of you.
Why is Milo shuffling papers? I mean, just get an iPad, right? And be ready. I don't know.
And we'll rotate between you guys. You'll each have 5 minutes to answer the question I've directed towards you, and the other person will have 3 minutes to respond. And then we will have a 30-minute Q&A and crossfire where you guys will have questions from the audience, and you will also then be allowed to sort of go back and forth between the two of you. So you can kind of have fun with it. It'll be a complete free-for-all. So after that, we'll go for 5 minutes each for closings. And you guys are allowed to have prepared openings, and I will give you guys hand signals throughout so that we're all on time and so that everything is running smoothly. So let's get started with the openings. It will be 10 minutes each, and we are going to start with Milo.
Is that indigo?
My hair?
Yes.
We call it blue over here.
Okay.
We call it blue over here.
I have to give you some credit for having the cojones to show up in Tennessee barely a month after.
The cojones to show up in Tennessee. Dude, you're not even American. Like, for you to try and rain shame against an American for visiting one of the states in his own country is ridiculous. It's almost like an American saying to you, Milo, "Oh wow, you have a lot of cojones to show up to Wales." Doesn't make much sense, does it?
The bullet-ridden bodies of children have been buried.
Oh, here we go.
As a sort of representative for a culture that did it.
A representative of a culture that did it. A representative of a culture that did it. A representative of a culture that did it. So if that is your thinking, your train of thought, your logical brain, then what happened in Buffalo, New York, where a European American decided to slaughter a bunch of African Americans, was that not egregious? Was that not a representation of a culture that decided to do something? And by the way, this isn't just in recent times. It seems like the shootings that are happening in terms of hate crimes is reflective of the lynchings that took place in 20th century America. So this is good politics for Milo, right? It's a smart talking point.
And offering anything but condolences and sympathy. I think it's disgusting. I think it's shameful. How dare you? How dare you show up here offering anything but sympathy?
Yeah, you're the foreigner, man. You know, get out of my country. You're the foreigner, you little goofball.
Because,
Because what?
you know, I think
Because what?
I should just stand or something.
Yeah, that's what I
Uh,
thought. What?
we're familiar with what happened in Tennessee. We're less familiar with the reasons why. But the reason was that at any given time in society, there are about 20% of people who are just nuts.
And don't get me wrong, like what happened in Tennessee is disgusting, horrible. The people that perpetuated, the people who perpetuated this crime should definitely be behind bars and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So this is by no means any kind of a pass. But let's see what he has to say.
And those people will glom on to whatever the fad is for people who are nuts. So the current nuts is trans. You can see
Oh yeah, the Trump supporter is talking about fads. Okay.
in the social trends when you plot anorexia and bulimia, which was the big thing when I was growing up, against the new nuts. That there's basically about 1 in 5 people who are just not really all there and will kind of do whatever. But
Oh,
when you hand those
hypocrisy.
people, those unstable and dangerous people, a victimhood script, when you give them a license to commit violence in the name of their supposed identities, instead of giving them the treatment and the love and the prayers that they need, you turn those people into killers.
Perpetuating crimes that people identify with, and so you're not going to subject the same kind of a category to Dylan Roof and others like him who have committed murders within the past 3, 4, 5 years, right? But you're willing to assign these traits to a trans person that decided to shoot up a school, and I'm not in support of killers or any type of an evil person. So of course I'm against what happened in Tennessee, but it's just the curious part about this dialogue is that he's assigning these characteristics to a certain person that perpetuated this crime in Tennessee, but not to Dylan Roof and the others, such as the individual in Buffalo who killed African Americans because he said that he hated African Americans, right? So where's this outrage if you're such a patriot? Because an American is an American, right? At the end of the day. An American is an American at the end of the day. So I mean he's mad when one crime takes place, but not mad when another crime takes place. So if you are an actual American, right, then you should not be a fan of this little weirdo right here.
You turn those people into time bombs. And there used to be something in America that would protect against that. It was Christianity. I think it's shameful that
And he doesn't even go into any detail, right? So he says that it's shameful and Christianity used to protect against crimes like what he's describing. So why don't you discuss how Christianity defended or protected people from this sort of crime that you're talking about? But he's not going to get into it because it's his opening statement.
anybody would show up so soon after a tragedy caused by the kind of ideologies that you support, and do anything but offer sympathy and condolences and celebrate the ideology that has protected us against this sort of thing for so long. It's outside the scope of our evening this evening to prove or disprove the truth of Christianity or Christ or whatever. But I'll make a few points. There is no America without Christ. And the reason for that is that this is an intrinsically and fundamentally Christian nationalist country, by which we mean it's built into the architecture of the nation. There's no getting away from it. You can lie about it. You can pridefully claim that, you can be good people without Christ. You can't. You're just inheriting a system of good.
Were the founders Christian? Were the founders of the United States of America Christian nationalists? I want everybody to go ahead and research, founders of the USA. You'll have a list of people, and I want you to go ahead and research the founders that came up on your Google search. And I want you to investigate and research their religious beliefs and see what you come up with, because this guy is full of it right now.
Good and evil from the culture in which you grew up, which accords with the natural law. America was founded, as Adams told us, with a constitution that is wholly unsuited to the governance of anyone but a moral and religious people. And when he said religious, he meant Christian, although he himself was wandered through various different kinds of heresy. What Adams said was that this country is, that its founding documents, that its founding architecture, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, were wholly and fundamentally unsuited to the governance of anything but a moral and religious people. Do you think that America is comprised of a moral and religious people today? Obviously it is not. And what he meant specifically.
Okay, so Milo is saying that the current U.S. population is not a moral and religious people, and yet he's alluding to the founding documents of the United States, and we all know that the settlers, the founders, and the architects of the United States were not now religious. I will concede that point, but moral, no, they were not. There were some founders in the minority that actually were bothered and didn't want this chattel slavery to go on in the U.S. However, for the majority of the founders and people in power, this was not chattel slavery was not a problem. If you look at the viewpoints and opinions of the founders and early power brokers of the United States, they had no problem with African slavery. Now, if it obviously spilled into European servitude or European slavery within the context of North America, right? We're not talking about Europe. If it were to occur in North America, they were not so happy about that. So this is obviously inaccurate. This is a lie, right? The founders were not a moral people, and the reason why we know that is because there were certain founders of the U.S. and signees of the Declaration of Independence that didn't necessarily agree with the chattel slavery of the United States. We have Thomas Jefferson. Obviously, he has conflicting views because you remember slavery is a human form of production, right? Slavery has been around since the beginning of human time in Africa, in East Africa specifically. So there's always been a debate about it. But obviously, this guy is just crazy.
Specifically was Christianity, because the way that America is set up outsources morality to Christianity. And without it, it doesn't work.
America outsources morality to Christianity. How does that even work when Christianity is older than America? This guy is he's a little nuts. I ain't gonna lie. He's a little nuts.
Because jury trials don't work when people vote with race instead of...
Jury trials don't work when they vote on the basis of race, and therefore it doesn't work. That is actually accurate. Low key, but you see, he only applies it to the things that he doesn't like, right? So this way of thinking is only for Europeans that are working and toiling in North America. So this line of thinking is actually accurate, regardless of your race or your socioeconomic class, or whatever class that you're in. Right? It really doesn't matter. But this guy just is willing to say things that are absolutely ridiculous and inaccurate. So
conscience and truth. A society doesn't work when people don't obey contracts, don't obey their word, when they're oath breakers. The architecture of America rests fundamentally on a bedrock of Christianity, without which the entire thing falls apart. And that's exactly what's happening.
You're not American.
And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't even have to take Adams's word for it, but one of your own Supreme Court justices, somebody who was famously left-wing, Rehnquist, I think it was. Can't bother to look it up, but he said that everything in America presupposes the legal system, the social system, the government. Everything in America presupposes the existence of the Judeo-Christian God. Without that, it all comes tumbling down. And without that, it is coming tumbling down. And without that, we're not able to give people who have terrible sicknesses and weaknesses and defects the help that they need. Instead, we hand them victimhood scripts and they shoot up.
Okay, so before Christianity, I guess there was no kind of kindness or morality, or because what Christianity is, 2000. Okay, so when you look at the history of Homo sapiens, because remember, there were different species of humans, right? But specifically on the dominant group, Homo sapiens, for him to say that there was no kind of kindness or morality or anything like that before Christianity occurred, that is an obvious, like, you don't even need to be European. Like, that's just like an obvious lie. What are you talking about, dude? Ancient Egypt, ancient China, Japan. Come on. Mesopotamia.
Schools, they shoot up. Churches, whether they are young white guys on antidepressants or whether they're transgender people who are told that it's white Christians are responsible for all of their miseries. It is Christianity that keeps us nice to each other, that keeps us being good to.
It is Christianity that keeps us being good to each other. This clown. And I do really mean it when I say clown. Because listen, you British tool, Asia has been around for a lot longer in human history. And Asia has not only been around a lot longer, but is more prevalent and has more of an edge in regards to trade deals, security pacts that the world enters into. And so for this idiot to say that Christianity is the only strain of, I don't know, philosophical thought or religious thought that enables people to be nice to each other, don't take my word for it. That's a lie. How long has Christianity been around on the planet? If niceness was only born out of Christianity, then how can human beings survive for this long? Idiot.
One another. And if you toss it out, as happened in 1776 here, you have a really big problem on your hands because, and I'm going to say something very radical and difficult
Yeah, what's
to
that?
say in
What's
Tennessee
that?
of all places.
What's that, goofball?
There are freedoms afforded to Americans.
There are freedoms afforded to Americans, and I can 100% agree with that. So, what's next?
That are too radical and too great and too daring without the
Too radical and too great. Maybe he should have studied some history. Maybe he should have studied some Mongol history. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan introduced a lot of things to the world. Things like diplomatic immunity. Asia has Asia in general, in regards to human history, has offered the average human being a lot more than what you're espousing here, little weirdo.
insulation of Christianity. The First and Second Amendments don't work unless everyone's Christian.
Oh, yeah.
They don't work. And
The First and Second Amendments don't work unless everyone is Christian. And yet, one of the most popular Republican presidential candidates in this election cycle is an Indian American named Vivek Ramaswamy, and he is a Hindu. This notion that freedom of speech and the right to bear arms is only compatible to quote unquote Christians, and we know what Christians mean, right? We all know what that code word means. That is so false. And for these people like Milo to spread that kind of misinformation only helps China, only helps Japan, only helps South Korea. You know, when you get these idiots, it doesn't help the US or Europe or Canada. Okay.
they're not working.
Oh, they're not working.
They're not functioning.
Oh, they're not functioning.
You can't give crazy atheists guns. You can't let shameless liars say whatever they want about other people in public without consequence. There's a sort of unwritten rule that sits behind everything in America. And it is that these are all the things you get to do because we know that you can handle it. We know that you can be trusted with this because you love God, because you respect life, because
So only Americans respect God. Only Americans respect life. And, you know, I'll be honest with the audience here. If Westerners, Americans, Brits, Dutch, French, Spanish, Canadians, if we keep talking like this, because remember, the West, for most of human history, for the vast amount of time that human beings have been in existence, and I'm not talking about Neanderthals or Denisovians or any other hominid species. I'm talking about the African species, the Homo sapiens that emerged out of East Africa. Okay. If we allow these fools like Milo and some other people to talk crazy like this, the West is only going to go into decline. And the West hasn't been in power that long if you actually take a macro view of human history. Okay. So keep it up, Milo.
You won't take other people's lives because you'll keep your word. Without that, the First and Second Amendments become a sort of license to abuse one another or to kill one another. They become a license to lie. They become a license to murder. They become too much freedom.
Too much freedom. Okay, guys. For right now, I will let it be. I'll join you guys on the next video. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.